Welcome in, everyone. This is another edition of the Full-Time Roundup podcast. It is your host, Daniel Brackett. Joined alongside me, Harrison Clark. We are back from our hiatus. Ended up being a bit busier last 2 weeks than I expected, so I'm sorry for the longer absence in terms of no bonus episodes, no fun episodes, but maybe we'll try again next international break.
Yeah, I'm just happy it's all back, to be honest. We got a horny slate in front of us. So yeah, it's good to have the club footy back. I honestly again, the Nations League, we've mentioned it. I just don't give a fuck. It's good to have the real games back.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I mean, I'm right now in a boycott of international break. I haven't watched a game. I watched a little that's a lie. I watched a little bit of the Panama game. But I wasn't really interested that much in what happens on international break, to be quite honest with you. It was honestly good just to have a break. I've been working on the golf game, and the slate is really good. So a couple things I wanted to touch on before we kind of jumped right into the preview episode. Got some best bets, a couple other teasers. But Pochettino, first two games for the United States national team. He beat Panama, or we beat Panama, and we lost to Mexico. Obviously, the first camp is probably not going to be, great. The players are adapting to Pochettino's style. Apparently, he made them run a lot. They were practicing more than 2 hours, which apparently Tim Ream said has never happened in history. I just think there were some tired legs. There were some injuries. I'm not going to draw really any conclusions from the games. But I did notice something in the Mexico game, but I want to let you kind of, if you have any insights, go ahead and butt in here.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't really pay much attention to either of the games. I will say that I'm not super surprised that that's how he necessarily treated the players, because that's what he's done his entire club career, is he's ran the players. I think it is interesting that he's still taking that tactic because the players are all in season, so you assume that they're all already fit.
And tired.
Yeah, and probably gassed. But yeah, I think that obviously the Panama game, you got to get a win, at least against them in his first game. Obviously, we are far more superior talent-wise than Panama. The Mexico game, no Pulisic, no McKennie, some of those top guys missing. A little disheartening to lose to Mexico, considering we've been the better team the last little while. And anytime you lose to them, it pisses you off a little bit. So, other than that, not a crazy amount of takeaways, other than the fact that I think it's another wake-up call to the players. It's a new style, it's a new guy in charge, and that's how he's going to run things.
Yeah, I just think that Pochettino, I don't know if he did it on purpose or it was just for evaluation purposes, but I think we learned a lot of things. I think we're going to see some players not get called up next camp from this camp. We played a B-C team against Mexico, and some of the players at least, just aren't good enough, period, for the national team to represent the badge. So it'll be interesting to see kind of who, if he goes and tries to get other players that he hasn't seen yet, or he'll give them a second chance. I was pretty disappointed with Tillman, Sargent, for example. Those Aronson guys have gotten limited opportunities in the past and just haven't been able to capitalize, even with good club careers in form for the club. So we'll have to see. I think we might have seen Tim Ream's last starting role in a U.S. national team shirt. The guy doesn't even cut it at center back at Charlotte FC, so I don't see how he's going to do that on the national team.
Your time's done, pal.
I mean, he's just a little old. I think he's a great vet in the locker room. I think he's still a really good leader. But in terms of U.S. national team minutes, I think we should be, showing the way for some youngsters to get that experience. I mean, the guy is in his mid-30s at this point, so I think it's time to move on. In terms of just being the shoe-in for a center back next to Richards. Um, the other big news, because not that much to talk about for the national team. Um, Thomas Tuchel announced as the England manager. And personally, I was like, damn, I kind of like the hire. I mean, the guy's a serial winner. He doesn't fuck around. He's a big personality. I'm sure Man United fans were really upset that he got
Punching their pillow.
yeah, because he was, I think, in my opinion, the guy to succeed Ten Hag. But in like classic England media style, you see every single England legend go on their phone and take a video and talk about how ridiculous hiring Thomas Tuchel is. It should be an Englishman or manager, excuse me. And the fact that they hired a German is just unacceptable. When is the last time you guys have won anything? When? And making a final doesn't count. You guys are the biggest losers I've seen in the last 2 decades. Makes no sense. Jamie Carragher, like all these guys, and I like Jamie Carragher, but like we should have an English manager coaching the team. Name one good English coach right now. Name one. Oh, like please, actually. I can't think of a single one. There's not. Because all the other European countries have better coaches. English managers are terribly tactically. You guys, all you did was shit on Southgate. He leaves. You hire a guy with 1,000 times better the resume of a Southgate, and then you complain. We're talking about a guy who won the Champions League. He's won the Premier League. He won Ligue 1. He didn't win the Bundesliga, but he went far. Like this guy has so many accolades to his name, and you're saying he's not good enough for the England job. It's ridiculous to me.
If you can't beat them, go
Join
get them.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love the hire. I've always enjoyed Thomas Tuchel. Obviously, he brought me amazing memories as a Chelsea manager, and I think that it's probably what England needs. To be honest, I relate the situation a lot to the U.S. The U.S. needed a new voice, and they needed a top guy to take over. I think England, they have so much talent, and similar to the U.S., even though the U.S. doesn't have the sort of talent necessarily that England has, in CONCACAF, the U.S. is superior in terms of talent. So you go get a guy who can make those players better. And I think for England, they have so much talent. They need to find the right kind of guy that makes it all work. And we've seen Tuchel, like you mentioned, do it in multiple leagues for a long time. I don't see anything wrong with them hiring a German guy. And I get that they would love to keep it in house, but the time is now for England to win something. I mean, good grief, the amount of talent that they have and the fact that they don't have anything to show for it, it's actually ridiculous. So I don't understand the narrative of why you should be so pissed off that it's not an English guy when you guys haven't won shit. I just don't get it.
And like if you had a good English coach out there, I'd get it. But I mean, I literally cannot think of one elite English manager. I mean, you could probably dig deep and like go to the 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s, but in terms of like currently, it's dire. I feel like the Premier League is the biggest league in the world. Brings and tracks the biggest players. England has some of the best players in the world, but in terms of coaching, it is terrible. And I feel like it's not talked about enough in terms of just like I don't really understand why tactically maybe I think is like the big shortfall or the shortcoming, but it is interesting. And Thomas Tuchel was kind of made for an international role, in my opinion. I mean, he plays really ugly football. He's
Mhm.
just really freaking hard to beat. And that's why he's kept all the elite jobs that he's had. It's not like he flourished in the league. He's flourished in the knockout competitions like the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's where he makes his coin. That's where he wins trophies. And so, you give him a year to put his ideals in to the team, and then you go to a World Cup in a year or two. Um, I like it. So I
I
mean,
mean,
he has a short leash, but
would you,
we'll see how it is.
would you rather fucking win or would you rather play pretty soccer? Like I don't. I, I,
I mean, in a Premier League sense, I rather do both, obviously. But like, I mean, there's been terms where Charlotte FC have been winning and they've been losing, and they've just been doing it both really ugly, and
Mhm.
it's not fun to go to the games. So I think like aesthetically, it's really enjoyable to watch. But in terms of like a knockout competition, I don't care how you have to win, you just do it.
Exactly.
So um, yeah, I mean, I agree. So
Love the
that's
hire. Love the hire.
yeah, I love to hire. You love to hire. Glad we both like it and don't really understand the media kind of blowing this out of proportion. Now, moving on, we do have Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Ligue 1 to talk about here. Bundesliga, can't forget them. So we'll go ahead and jump into the preview and keep this episode short and sweet. Actually, no. I want to talk about MLS Decision Day first. So this is coming up
Sure.
on Saturday. Um, the West is pretty wrapped up here. So, just teams kind of changing their seedings just constantly throughout the fixture should be kind of fun. But the Eastern, ninth spot is pretty interesting here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. So, nine teams get in out of 15. In Montreal and DC are sitting on 40 points. In Toronto, Philly, Atlanta are all sitting on 37. So there's a lot of win and get ins with a caveat of a bunch of different teams. But we could see a really fun deadline day on the eastern side of the table. Inter Miami have already locked up the spot, and most of these playoff teams aren't really going to leapfrog anyone, nor do they have much to play for. But I would say the win and get in for those five teams should be pretty interesting, including Charlotte FC playing DC United, who's fighting to keep their playoff spot. Going to be interesting to see how those go. We are, going to probably do an MLS playoff preview with our good friends at Charlotte Soccer Show. So be on the lookout for that maybe next week. Just to talk about the dark horses in the tournament, the playoffs, kind of remind everyone what the setup is. So wanted to mention that before we get into the preview. Sorry for being so scatterbrained. It's late and my brain is tired. Going to the weekend preview for domestic football, we'll start in the Premier League as it's king. Liverpool, Chelsea. We got a little pod rivalry here, Matt included. This game is at Anfield, but I don't really feel great about this game, to be honest, Harrison. Chelsea, I feel like have had our number a little bit over the last couple of years. Like it's never like a blowout like we own United. Like it's just no questions asked. But in terms of like the head to head, I feel like, they're really tight conference or contests. We've only out of the history 13-1 for Liverpool, 16 drawn, 10 wins for Chelsea. We won barely in the EFL Cup last year. We crushed you one year, or last fixture, but that was a bad Chelsea. But then the last couple have just been 4 draws in a row after that. So I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for Liverpool in any means. Chelsea probably have looked the best they've looked in years. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I'm fired up. I honestly can't wait, and I don't think Chelsea has anything to lose in this game whatsoever. We mentioned it last episode. Like if you had said before the year that at the second international break, Chelsea were in the top 4, you 100% would take that. And Liverpool maybe are playing with a little more pressure now that they are still at the top of the table. I will say, like, I think that just such stupid yellow cards from Marc Cucurella and Wesley Fofana against Forest last time out. They miss this one, and
I didn't know that. That's a big one.
Cucurella has had a very good start to the year, building off of his Euros, and Fofana. I mean, I haven't been necessarily as impressed with him, but he's still been okay at the back, and they've been starting primarily the same 4 players defensively to start the year. So you're kind of messing with that sort of chemistry a little bit.
Who starts?
So I think it'll be Levi Colwell and Tosin is my guess is who will start at center back.
I was really hoping you'd say
Badiashile
or Badiashile. It was going to be
keep them so far away from the pitch.
It was. I was going to say Jota is almost a guarantee to score.
We ripped on Badiashile last year, dude. Axel Disasi
is way worse.
He sucks. I mean, and granted, the last couple of times he's played for Chelsea, he's played out of position at right back because obviously James and Gusto have had a couple injury problems, so they have to make do. But I guess I am encouraged by Renato Vega. He's been actually very good for Chelsea since he's
Europa Conference League.
Yeah, he's been good at left back. He's been good when he's played in the middle, and he'll start this game at left back. So I'm not really actually too worried about left back. But again, like just a big game and the unpredictability of Chelsea, I have high hopes, I think, and I think that we can pull out a result in this one. You did mention that last year we did get smoked at Anfield last year, and again, but that was a different team. I think this team has a new sort of confidence.
Without doubt.
And Maresca's, given them so much belief, I think, in themselves. And going forward, we've been so dangerous that I have a lot of hope for this one. So I'm really looking forward to Sunday morning.
This is I'm trying to think of a name. The ball sack derby. You got 2 bald managers, 2 new managers.
Condom head derby.
Pinhead derby. Allison Becker misses out, but that's honestly a bad thing for you guys because
I know he owns us.
Owns Chelsea. It's actually hilarious that our backup keeper owns you guys. So honestly, I might actually feel better about Queen Kelleher starting this game than Allison. It just happens to work out that way. It's always funny how that works. So, I'm desperately trying to pick him up in fantasy. For EPL fantasy because I just know he's going to hopefully keep a clean sheet. But this game should be really interesting. Do you want to do a podcast wager on this? Not financially maybe, but something. Trying to think here.
I mean, I'll probably end up seeing you this weekend because I will be in your town. We can do a jersey swap. How's that?
Jersey swap? I think that would be fun.
Okay.
I think that would be fun. Let's do that. So next game, United Brentford. We've talked. Manchester United has dominated our minds in conversation just because we just can't believe Ten Hag is still employed, and on the other side, Brentford are the best 5-minute team of all time. So, how do you think this one's going to go?
I mean, what kind of hope do I have for Manchester United? The answer is 0. And Brentford, we've talked about them. They've been flying and been a really tough team to stop recently. From a betting sense, I cannot take United in this game. They've proven nothing to me, and I will gladly take Brentford. And I honestly think that Brentford obviously are way more in form. They're way more dangerous. And even on the road, when it's going to be tense at Old Trafford because another bad result, I just don't see how he's there next week. So, I like Brentford. I don't know. I just can't get behind United right now.
No Diddy. I agree though. Brentford, I like Brentford a lot in this game. United are rubbish at Old Trafford. They just fired Ferguson from whatever advisor role or whatever it was. So you're going to hear some unrest, I feel like, at the grounds this weekend. Bad vibes. Anyone who's been hanging out with Ten Hag for
Toxic.
2 weeks, that can't be fun. He's not a fun hang. And on the other end, you have Thomas Frank, who seems like a great fellow. Also, I think, I mean, a decent bit of United's players have traveled quite a far distance. A lot less of Brentford's people had been, playing for their international teams. Obviously, a couple here and there. So, I think that's a slight edge as well. So yeah, I like a tie here at least. I'd say probably 1-1. What's your score prediction?
Fuck it, man. Brentford wins the game. 2-1.
How
The
about
bees.
we never got a score prediction for the Liverpool Chelsea. You go first.
I'll say 1-1. I think that this is probably a draw kind of game.
Very
And
cagey.
even though Chelsea can be so unpredictable, it feels like this is kind of game where both teams don't necessarily want to give up too much. And I don't necessarily believe in Chelsea's defense, but I also I think that they'll be able to hold it down enough. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1-0 Liverpool, but it's gonna be a nervy game. Could go either way. Southampton Leicester relegation finale. I just think this game is gonna be kind of fun. Southampton, it's at Southampton. Do you pick a side here?
I'll take Leicester. I feel like this is the kind of game that Jamie Vardy lives for.
Yeah.
I mean, would I bet anything in this game? I think the only thing I would bet is taking Vardy to score.
Absolutely
So
not.
I'll take. It feels like it's going to be just nasty and just one that I will never turn on the TV. But I'll say 1-0 Leicester. I think they get it done.
That's fair. Let's see here. Leverkusen, Frankfurt. Another really good game. Florian Wirtz is out, which I missed over international break. That's a big miss. Frankfurt are hot right now, but international break can kind of reset these teams at times, kill the momentum. Xabi Alonso, I'm sure, has been focused on a game plan as well as cleaning up defensively. So I think Florian Wirtz is a big miss. I'm going to go 2-2 draw here.
Kind of along the same kind of line. I think that Wirtz injury certainly is not great. But I do think that Leverkusen have a ton of depth. That Xabi Alonso can make something work with it. And you got to think their last time out, they tied Holstein Kiel at home. There's no way that sits well with both them and the fans. And I know
at home again too.
I know Frankfurt have been flying. But this just, even without Wirtz, it feels like a spot that Leverkusen gets right. So I'm going to take them 2-1.
Okay. I respect that. Bayern, Stuttgart.
I mean,
Stuttgart, not a great run of form recently.
No, really. Ever since I pumped their tires, saying that they were like should have won the game at the Bernabeu, they've kind of been shit. But
yeah, I was kind of doing the same, so I resonate.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Bayern. I think there'll be goals in this. There's always goals in this game. Looking at their recent history, I'll take Bayern 3-1.
I'll go 2-1, but I think I like that a lot. Roma Inter, a classic Serie A Calcio rivalry here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll take Inter. Just a lot going on at Roma. There's a little too much chaos, I think, going on in Roma.
Coach is on the hot seat.
Yeah, I know. I think Inter, I mean, what is it? Yeah, Inter's been starting to find their form as of late.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take them. I think that I think they've won 2 or 3 now in a row in Serie A. I think they're going to start really charging, especially with the way Napoli's playing. They know that they don't need to drop any points currently, even in a tough game on the road. I think at Roma, a lot going on at Roma, so I'll take Inter. I'll say 2-0.
You took mine. I'm gonna
You can
say I'm gonna copy you 2-0. That's exactly how I think this game is gonna go. Better coach, better players.
Mhm.
I just and Inter's at home. I think
They're on the road.
they're on the road. Oh, my buddy's going to be at this game. Shout out
Mm.
Max. Actually, he's been on the pod, so the listeners might know him, but he's going to
Shout
be at
out
this
Max.
game. Shout out Maxie Kid. Max, I hope you enjoy the game. And what's Roma Stadium called one more time? The Stadio Olimpico.
Of course.
I hope you enjoy it, man. I think he's going to get me a scarf at this game. So this is the scarf game for me.
I've had a couple of buddies go to a game of Roma. They seemed like they had an absolute blast.
Yeah. No, I remember you were sharing about that not too long ago. But yeah, that should be a really fun one. I'm going to go back to the Premier League just because there is one more game I wanted to talk about, and we do have some time here. I think this Tottenham West Ham game is super interesting. Son's going to be out for this one, so I think it really evens out. Brennan Johnson's been red hot. Solanke still. Are you going to start Timo Werner? Fulkrug obviously still injured, but West Ham did get one finally. So we'll see how it goes. But do you pick a side here?
I don't really want to pick a side, honestly. I think that this is going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
London
Fun
Derby.
game?
London Derby. Maybe. I'm not too sure. Especially anytime you have Antonio starting up top, I don't have a ton of faith and a lot of fun. He's pretty gritty, but lacks the finish. I think, anytime it's a London Derby, it's going to be pretty closely contested, and there's a lot on the line for both. So Tottenham have been a little hard to trust. I still lean them here, even without Son. I don't trust West Ham's form enough, even though they just beat Ipswich. They needed that game badly, and you had to win that game, especially knowing that you're going to Tottenham the next one. But I think this is a win for Spurs, in my opinion. I think they just edge it out 2-1.
Okay. I think 1-0. I think goals are going to be few and far between here. But I do think that Spurs have the edge. I'm not going to keep buying into Lopetegui, even with the one win. Kind of kills your momentum with international break too.
Yeah.
And the biggest coin flip game of them all, Fulham Villa at Craven Cottage. This might be the game I watch, fully. Both teams are playing really good ball right now. Especially Fulham is one of the most underrated teams in the Premier League. Raul Jimenez has just gone back 5 years in time, and it's just he was just shitting on the U.S. national team the other day. He's in full confidence, and Aston Villa are Villa, so I don't really know who's going to win this one, to be honest.
Dude, I like Fulham in this game.
I do too. I like a draw, but I think Fulham could get points for sure.
They've been playing some good ball, and maybe the break came at a bad time, but if they're able to keep the sort of momentum that they had beforehand, I think that they can definitely pull out a result here. Kind of feels like this is, I know Villa messed up a little at Ipswich and had that game, but this is a much tougher game, and it's going to be a good environment at Fulham. Yeah, I like them here, dude. I think Fulham edges this game out. I think they're going to win 1-0.
I'm going 1-1, but I think Fulham are going to score first, and Villa might be able to get that equalizer.
Duran off the bench.
Duran off the bench, yeah. I think Adama Traore, this could be a legacy game. Villa are missing a lot of right backs right now. And Adama, if he can finally just put the ball in the back of the net,
Bring your shooting boots, pal.
this could be a legacy game.
Lace it up, buddy.
Now it wouldn't be a show if we didn't give our picks for the weekend. We have a lot of plays this week. I mean, I'm scared personally, Harry, because I've been on a really good run here, and I don't want to give coin back. But
no, see, Dan, you're hot. That's when, even though sometimes we can get a little overzealous, I think that in soccer you've been pretty sharp this year, and you should have way more confidence than you do.
And the numbers, and with that encouragement, the numbers do back up.
You've been crunching. Plays. You've been crunching.
I did spend some time today crunching, so I'm going to go ahead and just list them out. Parma versus Como over 3 here. 2 nailed on relegation teams. Como looks a lot better right now. They are really good attacking wise, not great defensive wise. Parma have been a sneaky team this year. Both teams love a good over. I really think this is going to be a fun game. Some people are probably listening to this right now saying Parma versus Como. Like, I didn't even know they're in top flight.
Trust.
Me and you have watched both of these teams play. They're actually really fun watches. They're like the Kiels of Calcio. So I think this game will fly. Augsburg, Freiburg over 3, pretty disgusting. But I think they've had 4 straight overs in their respective head-to-head matchups. Both have been pretty good attacking, really bad defensively. Hoffenheim, Bochum. I mean, this is just a straight Hoffenheim get-right game. They haven't played very well. They've been just an absolute hospital. And Kramaric is back. They got some guys back, and Bochum are just abysmal defensively. And they can grab one on the counter too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they snag one here. So I like the over 3. That's a safe bet. And last 4 meetings have gone over. Rennes, Brest, over 2.5. Going back to Ligue 1, I've kind of shunned them for a while now. But this last game that they played, I think, had 8 or 9 goals. Both teams are really good against the over. And, I think Rennes is going to maybe put it on them a little bit, but Brest might have a few answers. Brentford +1. You can parlay this with a fat money line if you want to. I like the Bees in this spot. You do too. Don't overthink it. City Wolves over 3.5. I think Wolves had the worst goal differential in the entire league. I think Haaland could have all 4 goals that would cash our over just himself in this one.
He hasn't scored in a while either. He might be due.
Yeah, especially once you go to a Norwegian national team that blows and then you come back, you're probably going to want to get the nastiness off you in terms of just the bad performances.
He bagged a hat trick this week.
He did, but the second game was real ugly. So I just think that he doesn't enjoy going and playing for the team in terms of just like the coach is really bad. They should be better. They have better players. So I just think he's going to want to remind people who's boss here. Wolves are just a disaster. And I could see one of these classic City games where Wolves steal one early and then City put like 7 against them.
They have had some classics.
They have. And, I think City are averaging at least 3 in this matchup the last couple appearances. So I feel pretty safe even with the hook at 3.5. Reims, Auxerre. Sorry, my French is terrible. Over 2.5, 2 of really bad teams, but these teams just concede like it's nobody's business. You can probably see a trend here in what I'm picking this week. I just like the spot here. Both teams desperate. And then Wolfsburg, Bremen over 3. Just the numbers really like it. Wolfsburg are starting to click here. And Bremen are really bad at home, but really good away. So maybe they'll snag one and kind of get the confidence rolling. Harrison, I'm done talking. You go ahead and give your plays.
Numbers were crunched. I like it. We'll start off on Friday. Dortmund versus St. Pauli. Listen, Dortmund are missing a ton of dudes, a lot of guys. And originally I did have the over. Dan did a good job of pulling me back in, reining me in, telling me, listen, you don't know what you're going to get with this team, but I do know I'm getting a guy in Garassi up top who's going to start and legitimately might be the only guy who might score goals in this game. So I'll take him -115 anytime goal scorer. Just feels like a pretty good play. I'm riding with you. Brentford +1. United suck. It's just the simple, easy play for me. Fulham pick'em against Aston Villa. I mentioned it. Love this spot, and I think the books like Fulham a lot here too. They have him actually listed as a short favorite, even though this game's basically a pick'em. They have him as a short favorite to Aston Villa, so I'll ride Fulham. Everton Ipswich under 2.5. Good grief, these teams are brutal, and I kind of feel like Everton right now are in games where it's just really, really nasty, and it takes a Dwight McNeil moment of magic to make for something to happen. So I'll take the under 2.5 in what feels like will be a close game.
I really like that play, by the way.
Thank you. We don't usually take unders, but man, I'm in on this one. Arsenal money line, short favorite. I know. Bournemouth, it could be a tight one, and Bournemouth usually plays teams pretty well, especially at home. And Arsenal could be potentially missing some guys, but this Arsenal team just finds ways to win. And I've seen it multiple times already this year where they don't play their best, they don't have their full team. We've already seen it with Odegaard, how the team is affected a bit without him in there, but they just find ways to win. So I'll take them. I'll ride them until they do end up dropping. City Wolves over 3.5. You already mentioned it. This game usually flies, and God, Wolves defense is absolutely putrid. Bayern Stuttgart over 3.5. I liked Bayern 3-1 here, and I'm taking the over. Game usually flies over. It's been good the past 7 matchups. Udinese +1.5 against AC Milan.
Big lean of mine.
Yes, Dan likes this one as well. No Teo Hernandez. He is such a massive threat from Milan going up the wing alongside Leao. Him not there. I just think that the offense is going to be, not as successful. And obviously Pulisic is going to have to carry his weight. But Udinese has been solid this year, and I think Milan is super inconsistent. So I'll take them +1.5 at a pretty good number. And lastly, we'll finish off with Liverpool versus Chelsea. I'll take my boys +1 just because we are so unpredictable and you don't know what Chelsea you're going to get. So I'll play the +1 rather than any sort of money line. I mean, maybe I'll play like a $5, $10 money line. You never know, just to have a little more stake on the game, even though my heartstrings are going to be pulled regardless. But yeah, those are my plays. Fat slate.
I think that's a pretty safe number at +1 there. I
feel good.
I don't think Liverpool blow Chelsea out, so feel pretty good at that. So just to recap really quickly for me, Parma Como over 3, Augsburg Freiburg over 3, Hoffenheim Bochum over 3, Rennes Brest over 2.5, Brentford +1, City Wolves over 3.5, Reims Auxerre over 2.5, Wolfsburg Bremen over 3. Harry?
Garassi, anytime goal scorer. Brentford +1, Fulham pick'em, Everton Ipswich under 2.5, Arsenal money line, Manchester City Wolves over 3.5, Bayern Stuttgart over 3.5, Udinese +1.5, and Chelsea +1.
Awesome. Always good having you back on the mic, Harry. Glad we're back for the games. Can't wait to see you in Charlotte this weekend, and we will be back next week with another episode of the Full Time Roundup podcast.